Shauntel Leeson, and I'm watching you on the Lake Forest Podcast.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Looking for the best pool supplies? Look no further than Dohany's Pool Supplies. With a history dating back to 1967, this family-owned business offers everything families need to keep their pools clean and sparkling, from chemicals to equipment. Plus, customers enjoy free shipping on all orders. Visit Dohany's Pool Supplies today at doheny.com, DOHENY.com, to learn more. Forest Bluff Real Estate Team serves Illinois, Wisconsin, Lake Forest, and Lake Bluff. John Josephitis, Laura Lee Van Fleet, and of course Michelle Parnell. Get a free market analysis now at forestbluffrealestate.com. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Havey Communications has been helping first responders arrive safely since 1983. It's owned by Lake Forest's own Mike Havey. Check them out at haveycommunications.com. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters: Matt A., Elizabeth C., Costa, Lance, Otto, RDM, John C. And shout out to the Lake Forest Breakfast Group, Broad Stop and Captain Mike's in Kenosha, the Greentown Tavern, and the Frolic Lounge in Waukegan. Shauntel Leeson, welcome to the Lake Forest Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow. You are a Lake Forest resident, is that correct?
I've been in Lake Forest since the early 90s.
Check the box. Okay, we will continue.
Checking the box.
Good luck, Forester. Shauntel and I know each other as well, and I'm glad to see her be on the show with her.
And
thank you. Good to see you.
Welcome, Shauntel. We met.
Talking to Aaron Reinhardt, the principal, Leinert. Okay. They're all watching right now, and we're going to fix the curriculum at the school. In priority, personal finance. I'm going to throw out a couple things here. Critical thinking, right? Prioritizing, like Second City, ad-libbing. We say thinking on your, how to deal with an unfamiliar situation and dealing with it, and coming out of it. Okay, that's 3 classes. I'm waiting for some more. What else we got?
I like this. I like what you're putting together. I think we should present it to the school board. I really do.
You need
like, not only the critical skills, but people need to know how to handle themselves and not lose their composure in a bad situation. You don't have to always get violent or angry. You can still handle it. That needs to be taught. I mean, or you shouldn't explode.
Yeah.
You shouldn't have to explode. You can get angry without exploding. They need that. Those all behaviors learned. We don't think about that, but all behaviors basically learned. There's nothing out of the box. You learn it from observation. You learn it from your environment, or it's taught to you. But we can teach children how to be better at relating to one another and how to communicate. That's important in our lives.
What about mental health? Kids, especially in grade school. Okay, we're going to leave the high school. Let's go to the Deer Path now. Kids early on, they can learn how to respond to stressors, just by breathing, whatever. Just know that, hey, you have this situation coming up. You can deal with it this way, or you can have a tantrum. Because if you're going to let kids mess around with technology, I'd love to hear your thoughts on that, Shauntel. When should we let kids compare their lives to somebody else's on Instagram or TikTok or whatever? Self-worth, to know that, I don't care what the other person says, I'm valued. How would you do that in the grade schools, or is it possible?
I think we need to teach that, because they always get it at home. I taught my daughter a couple of things. I taught her the breathing technique, because she gets stressed out when she's taking exams. I go through it. I tell her, if you're going to breathe, you breathe in. And I don't know if I have it right, but you breathe in slowly through your nose to the count of 6, and you breathe out through your nose through the count of 8. And this other thing I teach you to do is, if nothing else, walk around the block. Stop what you're doing and just go for what the walking does. It sort of balances out the right and left hemisphere of the brain. and you make yourself think about nothing but the air. When you are really angry or nervous, think about air, trees, and water, nothing else, not people. Air, trees, and water, and walk around the block. That and
great, and we got a lot of great air, trees, and water here in Lake Forest to look at.
Yes, you do.
You don't see the air, but a lot of great, beautiful trees and water here in Lake Forest.
Train our kids on how to deal with their emotions. I think we start as early as kindergarten. You need to train them how to. And I learned this from a guy. I learned something interesting. He was a day trader. He said his parents were both school teachers, and what they'd make him do was sit at his desk. He didn't have to study if he didn't want to, but sit at your desk. He had to sit there for 1 hour, no matter what. And that forced him to learn how to train his thinking. And we need to get that into children, teaching them early how to train and control their emotions. And I think we would cut down on some of the violence we see in our society. And it should be I don't care which bubble, it goes to all the bubbles.
Yeah.
All the bubbles need to teach children how to control their emotions.
Social media has made that more important all the time because now people, whereas previously, if you wanted to say something nasty to somebody 50 years ago, you might write them a letter. But you might also write the letter, and people often did this, write the letter and then tear it up afterwards, which was a very good therapeutic method. But now you write the email or you write the social media post, the Facebook or Instagram post, and you hit send, and boom, it's gone. It has made it far too easy for people to vent their emotions in ways that are just not productive. I know personal experience.
You and me both.
Same here.
Not me.
I've got the reputation of and people are saying what they want to say online so they can hide behind it. But it's not just what they say, it's how you react. We have to teach people how not to react to it, because people will tear you down, destroy your reputation, rip off everything they can, and because they can sneak behind the internet to do it, and sneak behind a false identity to do it. But we have to train our society how to do it, starting with our children, how to handle you, because you can't react to everything. And I think that the kids harm themselves when they let people tear them down. And you have to help when it has to start. And I think it has to start in kindergarten. If you can't start at home, start it in the school. Because school is a controlled environment, and you can teach everything, even behavioral dynamics in school.
Where do the parents come in on this?
Oh, well, they're working.
They point at the teachers, say it's their fault, and then the teachers point at somebody's got to take responsibility.
You know what? It's a whole social order. It's parents and it's children, but the difference is in a school environment, that's a controlled environment. Family is too, but different type of control, whatever, out of control. But a school is a controlled environment, and we need to train our teachers how to train and teach differently. It's no longer just rote memory and reading and memorizing the Constitution and your ABCs and whatever else. You also need to teach emotional management, not control emotion, how to manage emotions.
EQ.
How to manage our emotions, how to diversify how you work. What was the other? We said taxes and financial education. What were the other things?
Ad-libbing, thinking on your feet.
Ad-libbing.
Right, so this is the launch of Shauntel's campaign for Lake Forest High School Board of Education in 2025.
Okay, well, then I'll run for it. I'm really thinking about getting more involved in local government, and that's some of the things I'm thinking about. I'm glad I'm here. You're in the
right spot.
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to cancel you, Shauntel. Nobody's going to mess with you. A hot issue in town with the schools is the guidance counselors are talking to the kids without informing the parents. You guys have a thought on that, starting with Shauntel? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Well, no, I'm not. What are they talking about?
Well, they're I guess, allegedly, Rick, I've heard that there's been allegedly.
Actually, no, I'm always the legal counsel here, so my job is to try to rein.
He just holds up a sign that says allegedly the whole show.
Exactly.
he holds the mute button for me, but DCFS was called a higher proportionate amount of times in Lake Forest at the high school than anywhere else, because whatever's going on with the counselors and the kids. And the parents are pissed that the counselors aren't talking to the parents about what's going on with their kids. at first glance, that doesn't seem right. Or I could be wrong.
Well, I mean, what do we really know about this? I mean, I've seen posts on Facebook, as I'm sure you have, Pete, and that's, I think, what the source of what you're talking about. But
yeah,
it would be helpful to have some better, some more objective statement about what actually is the school doing in connection with this. I haven't seen it.
Well, maybe we start with a FOIA again. Play the FOIA game.
Yeah. Well, and that's that, when you're dealing with local government nowadays, their answer to everything is, oh, send me a FOIA.
Well,
I agree. That's, they rather than provide actual information to your constituents, the answer is send me a FOIA. And yeah, I know I've gotten that from the village of Lake Bluff many times. Yes.
Well, should the counselors clue in the parents what's going on with their kid? I vote yes. Common sense. Unless the kid's getting abused, and then I guess that's
I was just about to say, former school board member here. There isn't an easy answer to these things. It's not a hard yes or a hard no, because each situation is different. There are times where getting a parent involved can be more detrimental than helpful. Unfortunately, in any community, I don't care about income or any of the other factors, there are unfortunately domestic issues that go on in some homes that are beyond awful. So, it's a tough thing. And, these counselors, I don't know the counselors there and everything, but I think at the end of the day, they want to do what's best for the kids. I hope they do.
Mm-hmm. I would hope
so. They're kind of, they have to make, and their plate is full with a lot of stuff. And it's little things like kids being late to class and somebody throwing a paper airplane, up to very, very serious problems. And so they've got to balance that. And so sometimes there's judgment calls on that. So I don't think there's a hard and fast answer. It's too easy to say they should always be involved, or it's too easy to take the other side and say they should never be involved. It's a give and take. And, who the arbiter of that is, I don't know the answer to that, if it should be a judge or if it should be, some impartial person. I don't know. I
think it's the school superintendent and principal are the ones who would.
Yeah, because there's some tough. Like I said, when I was on the board in Niles back in the 90s, Niles Township, there were some horrible stories of domestic issues that kids had to go through when they went home at night. That you wouldn't wish on anyone. And but at the same time, I'm a parent. I've got 2 teenage kids. If my kid is causing a problem in school, I'd like to know that what happened. But the counselor has to figure out if I'm the good guy or the bad guy in this. And I think I'm the good guy. I think most people would
Joe, this is Lake Forest, man. This isn't Pulaski and Armitage. It's not 63rd and it's Lake Forest. How can you have?
But there are people.
Oh, I'm sure there are people. Yeah, there are bad people in Lake Forest.
There's people. You could have a billionaire, and they still could have some domestic problems that you got to protect the kid from. So
this is not a factor of wealth. I think this is a factor of people. Yeah.
Okay, you been to Pulaski and Armitage, Rick? 63rd and Cottage Grove.
I have.
Go down there.
I have.
Okay.
Not recently.
All right.
But what? Most of the people in that neighborhood are good people too. That unfortunately have a few bad apples in their neighborhood that make life very difficult for them. So I don't think you can always judge a book by its cover.
I can't be.
I think because it's Lake Forest, it's easier to hide because money can hide a lot. But when kids have problems, they have problems. I don't care what income bracket they're from, and I don't think the kids on 63rd and Cottage are no different than the kids over in Lake Forest. They're still people, and if they need help, and there's no one to turn to, they need somewhere to go. Because that's what creates teen suicide. They have no place to go. They need to lay their head on someone's shoulder and feel secure. And unfortunately, I think there's no easy answer on what to do and how to handle it. But we need to be able to protect children from adverse situations. And I don't care if you're a billionaire or a dollar heir. Kids need to
Well,
feel
it's
secure.
Shauntel, don't you think it's because of social media that they're comparing their situation to somebody else's? And that's why I'm saying if you limit that technology when you're young, I mean, that plays a role into these kids are trying to get an identity of what they are, and their identity is whoever these influences are. Don't even get me started on a Bud Light can. You have all these.
Wow.
You like that?
That was
Yeah.
the dumbest issue I've ever heard. I could care
That,
less.
that could be all time dumbest. Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, and now Donald Trump Jr. is defending Anheuser-Busch because they gave donations to the Republican Party. So anytime, look, when we talked about this with when people were threatening boycotts of local businesses here because they had a tax sign in their window.
Yeah.
I said this then, I'll say it again. Boycotts never work. They never work. They might work for like 2 weeks, but if somebody really likes Bud Light, they're gonna wind up drinking Bud Light again. If they really like Chick-fil-A, they're gonna eat Chick-fil-A again. You know, this stuff never ever has legs more than 2 or 3 weeks. Nike, all this stuff is just and both sides are guilty of it. I mean, the left, the right. It really is just a waste of oxygen when there's some really serious issues that really affect all of us, whether it's taxes and some of the bread and butter issues, that this is just a distraction. And at the end of the day, I think the general election voter could care less about the extremes of either party and some of this virtue signaling that goes